35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15. 14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7. 6.
5.
4.
3.
2.
1.
It's time for mouthwash. Giddy up.
Good evening and welcome to Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And yes, I got some good news for you. We do have Ed back in studio. He was up in South Bend with a lot of internet problems, and he actually went out and spent some money on some doohickey to help him get the internet. And he's live, large, and in charge again back on the show. So the gang's all here tonight. And we have a pretty interesting show. It's called Potpourri because we're going to cover 2 or 3 things. Generally, we cover one thing, but tonight we're going to cover a few things. And hey, the other good news is we even got Rusty Johnson in studio tonight, already on. So we don't have to worry about him coming on later. We have him here, and he will be our second portion of the program. First, we're going to cover some campaign finance stuff. We're going to talk about the reporting for state offices and for federal offices. For anything that people are running for, we have to do what's called a preliminary primary report. And that's where we put in what contributions and expenses we've had since January 1 to April 8th. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about how some of this money gets shuffled around. And we even actually have some slides tonight. It's going to be awesome. And I don't want to, raise any alarms with the people on the panel, but we may actually have a sponsor, a paid sponsor at some point in the near future. And maybe that paid sponsor is watching tonight. And unlike some of these shows where I actually have these products at my house, I don't just say I have them and then we don't have them. So, hey, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our panel. And since we haven't seen Ed in a while, I'm going to bring Ed on first. Ed, how are you this evening?
I am doing great, John. Glad to be back.
Your connection is superb. It's excellent. So,
hey, I'm calling my new device Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno, John. We don't talk about Bruno.
yeah, we do. All right. Well, speaking of the queen of non-conspiracies, let's bring Lucy on here. Lucy, how are you doing this evening?
They aren't conspiracy theories. They're spoiler alerts.
Yeah. Well, you sent me one today that I'm like, OMG.
Yeah,
OMG.
That's a big one. I think we should talk about that on a future show.
That needs to be a whole show. That one definitely needs to be a whole show. So how's things in Southern Indiana? No tornadoes blowed you away yet?
No, but we're expecting some tomorrow. So
maybe tomorrow.
We'll just have to see.
Now, don't blame me if a tornado comes and gets your house. I
carry great insurance. I believe in overbuying insurance. So I make sure that all those bases are covered.
All right. Well, a little lizard will be coming down to do a commercial at your house very soon. So, all right. Well, let's bring Tiffany on here. Tiffany, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. We can talk about Bruno. We just don't talk about Jada. We don't talk about Jada. No.
Hey, Ed, I'm not going to take offense to your hairstyle, so I'm not saying a word about it. So
I've been hearing bald jokes for a long time, man.
It's good to be here. Excited for the show. It's good to see you, Ed.
Yeah, it's just I feel all warm and fuzzy with everybody back in the stable. Our prodigal son has returned home, and we're gonna, kill something and barbecue it or something like that they did in the good old Bible times. But hey, let's get started on our first topic. Are you guys ready to do that? Because it's going to be a first for our show here. It's going to be where I share the screen somehow, and let's look at that real quick. Just make sure I don't go on this. This is going to be. Let's see. Let's get that up there. This is the contributions for some of our people that are running for our Indiana House. This is actually a real contribution report, and this one was from 2020, as you can see. And this goes down all the list of the people that donate to these campaigns. Now, why am I showing this? Well, I'm going to show the expenditures in a minute, and we're going to show you how money gets shuffled around in these campaigns. So if you'll look here now, let me remind you, this is an Indiana House of Representatives candidate. They're incumbent. So I'm just curious, and I'll open this up to the panel here in a second, of why do we have so many out of state, people that really shouldn't have a whole lot of interest in Indiana politics. So you can see there's not a whole lot of people. I think Tom Dale, I think we could probably say he's a real person, not just somebody that's donating like fine wine and spirits and this council and the UAW and the this and that and all that. So that being said, let me go stop this screen and we'll get another screen going here. Oh yeah, there it is. It'd be nice if I had okay, let's look at the expenditures now. So, I have one already highlighted here. This is one that stuck out to me. Okay, this candidate lives in Indy here. And I just want to open this up to the panel and see, is it highlighted? Can you see that across there? Is that highlighted for you?
Why would he have an expenditure at like the liquor store, Crown Liquor?
Well, and then a hotel room downtown.
Drunk people contribute more. They agree to things they wouldn't normally agree to. Yeah,
so there's that. Let's see if I can get that. Okay, so now that's one. That's just a side note there. So, so let's just go down to the bottom of this thing. So okay, so you raise all this money, and now I'm gonna highlight this one here.
$1 for parking? Why bother?
There's everything itemized on there. Now let me tell you a little thing about politicians. I'm one. Anytime you see something detailed like that, there's something under the rug. So anyway, they wanted to make it look like it's transparent, but I got to highlight it on the bottom here. So gives back $18,500 to the Democrat Party, and then here's another $5,000 back to the Democrat Party, and then we have these couple here. Of other candidates. Now, all this is legal. This is all legal. I'm not trying to say that any of this is not.
I've donated to other candidates within my party.
Yeah, that's legal. It's all legal. Here's another this back to the party. So
somebody ought to take that last number and use gematria on it and find out what the hidden meaning is.
That is for the conspiracy theory later. So we've seen that, and now let's see if I can get this down here. Okay, yeah. So what do you guys think? I want to hear your opinions. Let's start with Ed, since I'm picking on a Democrat here, because you could honestly probably just transfer that over to any Republican or anybody that's an incumbent that takes this money from PACs, corporations, and what do you think they're after, Ed?
It's crazy. So I go back to AT&T, and we may be canceling out a future sponsor here, but my conversations with AT&T when I ran were, they've got people playing both fields, right? They're playing Democrats and Republicans, and even the conversation with the guys with AT&T, where we happen to have more guys work in the Republican field because obviously the Republicans are a super majority right now. And so, yeah, I think when you go through the roles, you're going to find a lot of companies spend a lot of money, and you'd be surprised. I think most people would be surprised how many companies are spending money on both sides. The other thing that I would also mention is that part to the, I know our campaign did some stuff with the Democratic Party down in Indy. It was a joint venture. The money has to go through one campaign, but it was kind of like a split, fundraiser or whatever we did. So the money went through one campaign and then got split off. So there were ways, some stuff that looked, looks kind of odd, and when you are in a campaign. But again, some of this stuff you're like, wow, we record all this stuff, but there's not a lot of people looking over it. There's not a lot of oversight.
No, it is hard to, you have to know where to look. And if you want to find it, you got to look up Indiana government and then campaigns and then campaign. You got to dig to find this stuff. And then also, if you want to try to find how a candidate voted, it's very difficult. You have to go back and literally look at the archive tape to when they voted and why they can't put this out where it's more common knowledge. Well, I think we all know the reason. Lucy, would you like to wager a guess?
Well, I think when you're talking about campaign finance, what you have to remember is this is literally people voting with their dollars to control another larger group of people, because the fraud is so rampant and important and profitable that they'll do anything and spend any amount of money in order to get control. That's what I love about politics. Yeah, well, I mean, Mark Small, he's running for the Congressional District 87, and he is taking zero money, zero, not a dime, not anything. And he's running his campaign on that. And, and I don't have any corporate donors for my campaign. And I'll tell you, it's tough. I mean, getting somebody to donate to a campaign is hard. I mean, a regular person, because I'm reluctant to donate to this, because I think I would rather donate to my homeless outreach or our art center here, or somebody that's struggling with whatever. There's tons. I mean, politics is my last on my list, but unfortunately, if you want to get mailers out and some advertising and this and that, legit stuff, it's expensive. It's expensive to do all that. So, Tiffany, what experience do you have possibly in this fundraising of venture or atmosphere or neighborhood?
For my caucus, I did way more than I was supposed to. We did yard signs and we visited all the PCs at home. We did door knocking and took them all muffins, and I did mailings and paid for it out of my pocket. Had some supporters and had a good time. But yeah, I mean, if you want to see really good people on the ballot, we have to contribute to campaigns. One, individuals need to contribute. Two, they need to vote. I want to encourage people, if you can hear the sound of my voice, and if you were not able to run for office because you did not have 2 primaries under your belt, you need to get yourself to your local courthouse and vote early. The show that we did in January, people were upset about having to vote in 2 primaries to be on the ballot for their parties. Go vote early, get 1 primary under your belt, then get your next one in 2 more years. So the next major cycle, you can be the candidate that you want to be. If you have ideas and if you want to see change and you want to be the change, get your primaries and learn how to raise money. Down at Congress of Counties, they did just a special session with the Lieutenant Governor, Suzanne Crouch, and she talked about her perspective on fundraising. And, she makes her own phone calls. She makes a lot of phone calls, and she calls people to ask them for money, and she asks them to invest in her. So if you believe in what you're trying to do politically, if you're compelled by what you want to do, find people who'll give you something. And the other thing I think is interesting is that, not everything has to be $1,000 a plate or $1,000 event. I mean, get 100 people to give you $10. I mean, you got to start small. That's all I got to say. And yeah, John, you found some interesting money moving. So yes, very interesting.
Yeah, well, and if you think about it, to get money into this, but Ed made a point about it being a majority. We got a super majority Republican in Indiana. So why are they, trying to buy influence from the Democrat whip? It's like he must know some people on that other side, but I think that's what it is. These companies don't give this money without some kind of return on their investment. And that's one of the things that I'm surprising. But I agree, Tiffany. Suzanne Crouch is a darling for the GOP fundraising. I've heard that from insiders, outsiders, and everybody. And, actually, she's a very nice person, too. So I couldn't refuse. I just hope she doesn't call me because I'll probably just give her my whole wallet. But, but I agree. Calling people, that's where, I can put out a blast of, hey, please donate to my campaign on Facebook. It's like, it doesn't work. You have to do a personal
also, John,
text.
In September, we went down to the National Federation of Republican Women campaign school that they did. And one of the things they said was, you should have envelopes with your address on them. And when you see people, somebody at Congress of Counties, Dale Basham, I think, out of Muncie, he's running for office. He gave me an envelope. I was like, oh my God, I'm honored. I don't have money like that, but I'm honored. But he was working it. I'll still send him some money. But you never know. You never know who's got money. You never know who's going to be compelled to follow through. And if you're not going to get it if you don't ask.
Yeah, and I was surprised at people that I thought would give that didn't, and people that I thought wouldn't did. And it's just it's been really nice. And I think a lot of people give to the person, not to the politic. And I think that makes something. But it's been a brutal thing trying to, I feel dirty after I do all these phone calls or whatever, but I personally send stuff out. But
if you're doing more than phone calls, you should feel dirty.
Oh man, maybe I need to get a hotel room downtown.
Right.
But I've also had an opportunity to work with a lot of people who are running for their first time, and several of them, if you can't afford to float your own campaign or you don't have somebody out the gate, getting in on a lower race is always my recommendation, to at least get your feet wet and understand what it's going to take to run, because hopping in and really, unless you're actually the candidate, you don't understand what it's like to be the actual candidate, even if you've been on other campaigns before. So I always like throwing that advice out to people too.
Yeah, I just fired out 5,000 in my campaign to show them I was serious. So, but at the same time, getting that support helps. So refresh the rules on this. So anything that you donate to a candidate in Indiana for the House, or I don't know what the federal stuff is. Maybe we can ask Rusty, who's coming on here in a second. Anything over $100, you have to report. Anything under $100, you don't have to report. So I have a lot of under $100 ones, but
actually it's over $100. So it's $100 and a penny. So people can give you one Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, and not be on the list. Well, I report all my $100 ones because I'm proud of that. But, and if it's an aggregate, so say somebody gives you $50 and 25, then that's 125. Then you have to report it. How you keep track of all that garbage, I don't know. I'm doing the best I can. I usually write it down on a loose of paper. But it's very eye-opening on how all this works. And speaking of how it works, we're going to get to our guest. I still see Rusty back there. First, I'm going to play. Let's go with Mark Small Talk, and he's going to talk a little bit about this campaign finance thing and about his campaign a little bit. So let's do that. And on the other side, we'll bring on Rusty Johnson, U.S. Congress District 7 candidate for. It's coming up in the primary because he's got a bunch of challengers. And so let's get to Small Talk, and we'll see what's going on the other side. Well, that was good. That wasn't the right button.
Hi, I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk for April 12th, 2022. I filed a form this morning, a campaign form that records finances for the pre-primary period here in Indiana. It's required of candidates. Now, I filed it online and I put 0 on everything because I refuse to accept any contributions to my campaign. I'm running for state rep, District 86 here in Indiana. It's like in Marion County. And I'm running the primary as a Republican. So I filed this, and then I started thinking about why it is that people spend money on campaigns and how much people complain about money in politics. And you think about it. Politicians talk about how much money is needed. You get hit with emails all the time. What do they use the money for? Because, you know, if you buy what they're selling, you're just going to feed that system. So let's think about it. One place that they do a lot of stuff is television advertising. So what do you gain from that? Do you gain any information from a commercial that tells you how great that candidate is? Voted the way you wanted them to on 85% of the issues, or the ones that really make me believe that we should have some really excruciating torture for people who design these ads. It's raining black and white, and the voice of the opponent is like this. And they say, did you know that they really were? You know, you don't get anything from hit pieces like that. Now, if you admit that you think that those are kind of cool, now don't pay any attention to the rest of what I have to say. But otherwise, why are they spending money? So if you look at a small campaign or a campaign for a relatively small area or jurisdiction where there aren't that many voters, you're not going to be spending money on polling, because it takes about 50 grand to get a statistically valid poll just for a congressional district, since we don't have landlines anymore. So instead, think about this. Encouraging candidates not to spend money, not to go out there and fundraising, which they do a lot of the time. I'm not going to accept any money, and I'm not spending any money. I think that's really kind of an important place to start. Especially, I really don't like those ads that are really grainy. So my name's Mark Small. I'm running for House, Indiana District 86. I'm on the north side of Marion County in Indianapolis and all that good stuff. This has been Small Talk. Peace, love, happiness, freedom. Civil Discourse Now is 7 o'clock on this same Chateau de Mars Hill network.
All right, Ed, how'd you get out there? You're not supposed to be out there. I know we missed you and everything, but you got to get in your spot. So there you go. You're in the middle. You're in the middle.
Keep it.
So hey, we have Rusty Johnson. We actually have you on here. Can you hear us, Rusty? Can you hear us?
It's Johnson, not Johnston.
I said Johnson. I said Johnson.
You said Johnston twice. I'm okay though. I'm okay. I've been called worse.
Hey, how you doing tonight? We have you on here. We can hear you. You can hear us. This is awesome. And he's frozen.
Yeah, everything's going great. We've been pretty busy getting out, talking with the people and everything. So yeah, we're doing good.
All right, go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get to the question and answer portion of our program.
Okay, well, I'm Rusty Johnson. I was raised in Indiana since I was 6 months old. Graduated from Edinburgh High School back in 1983 in Johnson County, and went in the Army in 1984. 1986, I got bit in the spine by a coral snake at Fort Polk, Louisiana. I was studying to become a chaplain at the time, and snake knocked me out for 14 hours before they found me. I didn't drown. The alligator didn't eat me, and the snake didn't kill me. So God had other plans for me. I've had my disability from the VA. So for the past 10 years, I've helped over 800 veterans get their disability from the VA and Social Security. Last April, we had 12 veterans come to us and said they've been waiting on Andre Carson for 4 to 6 years for their VA disability and Social Security, and come to find out he never even turned it in. All 12 are African Americans. One lost his house, his family, and tried to commit suicide, and I said that's one too many. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, your religion, your sexuality, your disability, or even your political party. We're about people helping people, period. And so we've been in this for 12 months. The other challengers, they've only been in for about 2 months. 3 do not live in the district. I do live in the district. So
all right, well,
I've been
hey,
in.
let's.
I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, it's just good. Your connection's not so hot, but hey, we have you on here, so that's
okay.
Your connection's choppy. It's a little choppy. Your internet connection.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's better than last week's. So, hey, we're going to start the conversation out with Lucy on top. Then we'll go to Ed. And then we'll go to Tiffany. We'll do the questioning in that order. And if you have a bright light we can shine on him, let's turn that on now.
Hey, Rusty, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for being one of the Republican sacrificial lambs in the 7th district race. How do you intend on breaking up? How do you intend on breaking up the legacy that is
There
for this
actually
family.
isn't any legacy. There really isn't such a legacy. What it is a lot of people aren't voting. In 2020, 61% of the registered voters in our district were Republicans, and 388,000 voters did not vote out of 670,000. That left 282,000 that did vote, and that's a shame. Our county and state GOP chairmen have been cowering behind their desks saying it's unwinnable, just as an excuse not to get out and try. At 61%, we should have won that race in 2020. But for the last 20 years, our state and county GOP says it's unwinnable. This year, I held them to their feet to the fire and said, hey, hold on just a second. I was in the military. We never even heard of unwinnable. If we faced overwhelming odds, we called in air support. We called in artillery. We leveled the playing fields. Then we sent in our ground troops, and we were successful. We had a plan. They do not have a plan. So for the last 12 months, our plan was we're taking our message to the people, the ones who vote, the ones who don't vote. And we've been out there talking to them. So far, we have over 3,600 African-American Democrats voting for us. That's never happened before in the 7th. We've got the veterans, the military, law enforcement, fire, rescue. We got the Protestants, Catholics. We're working on the Jewish community as well. We're out there talking to everyone individually. We're not mailing them out. I think the personal touch gets lost in the mail. And I think when you get out there and meet the people, you listen to the people and you talk to them and tell them how you are, how you feel. My whole life has been about people helping people, period. None of that other stuff matters. It's just noise to us. So we set it to the side. We get these people taken care of. And something that happened 3 years ago, Amtrak came to town and fired a bunch of their employees. Most of them were African Americans. They got together and went to Carson and said, hey, can you represent us and get us our jobs back? He said, sure. He went, on your own. There's nothing more I can do. He walked away. There were several things he could have done. He could have called his union buddies and got them better jobs than what they had, but he didn't. He could have cashed that check and divided it among them until they got their first checks so they could keep their homes and their cars and their families together. But he didn't. He walked away. That is not what a representative is supposed to be. And we're saying enough is enough. Every one of those people lost their homes. They lost their cars. Some of them lost their families. Some of them are living in apartments together with each other. And they're working in housekeeping in a lot of the local hospitals around our district. And that's a shame.
Okay, Rusty, I'm gonna sorry to interrupt you, but I want to get to some more questions here. Ed, sure. I know you're next, but we do take questions from the audience, and we have one here.
Sure.
And if you could just give me a quick stance on affordable housing, what that looks like to you for David, that would be awesome. And then we'll go to Ed.
On affordable housing for, I mean,
what's your stance on affordable housing?
I want to know. Well, I'm for affordable housing. I think our congressman has not been doing that. He needs to get on the housing committee if he's not on there already, and try to bring more money in and get this housing mess cleaned up and get these people taken care of. Like we have 3 apartment complexes here in the city that aren't paying their water, and the people are suffering. You remember just a few weeks ago, in the middle of the cold weather, the people lost all their water because their apartment complex wasn't paying their water and stuff. So we've got to have good leadership to be on top of that, to hold these people accountable for the apartments as well as affordable housing. So is that good?
All right. Yeah. That was nice and short and concise. Okay. So Ed, what question might you have?
You've already touched on a few topics here, Rusty, but I'm going to ask you my favorite question as a Democrat. Pitch me. Go ahead. Give me the pitch of why, as a Democrat, I should vote for you.
Well, you hear all these other politicians are out there saying, I. You know, it sounds like they have their own mariachi band. And then you have Andre Carson. He's running on his celebrity status saying, me. But no one is talking about us. No one's talking about you. No one's talking about me except for us. It's all about us. You don't hear me saying we the people, and we the people are pissed off at both parties right now. You know, like I said earlier, the county and state GOP, they're not going to be backing us again this year because they said their investors do not care about the 7th congressional race. Now, what that means is they chose money over human life. They chose investors over Republican voters. And we're saying that's wrong. We're telling both parties, divide us no more. Quit dividing us by the color of our skin, our religion, our sexuality, our disability, and anything else. Enough is enough.
All right. Hey, Ed, are you gonna? Did that work for you?
That works for me.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Ed can't vote for you, Rusty Johnson.
That's okay.
So,
I like Ed. I like Ed anyway.
But if you could convince Ed, you got a good pitch there. So, Tiffany, what would you have to say to your fellow Republican?
Sir, so Rusty, so glad you're running. We had the chance to talk to two of the people who were in the race last week, and we just talked about just like diversity issues and having a diverse set of people that you're working with. And it sounds like you've got that covered. But as you look at your constituents across Congressional District 7, you know, what one thing would you push back or champion that would change people's lives?
Well, I believe the first thing we got to do is we got to put for the people, by the people, and with the people back in there, because all these politicians, all they care about is money right now. Just like our state and county GOP, they're not caring about the people in the 7th district, and people are suffering. You go out into the district and listen to them. They've lost their jobs, they've lost their homes. Some of them have lost their
wait a minute.
families.
So what are you going to champion that's going to change their lives?
What we're going to have in their jobs all the time. Let's try to find better jobs for them. Find out what they can do that would be better than what they were already doing. Let's at least listen to them and see what they need. And that's what's not happening right now. Even with our other challengers, is they're not listening. They're saying, I, listen to my education. Listen to how much money I have that I can spend on this election. But nothing about the people. We have to listen to what the people want. We have to listen to what their needs are. And we have to try to improve that.
So, question.
Oh, go ahead.
So, politics, it's like a game of ideas and solutions, and you can go on to the CDC. You can pull stats. We know that the majority of your constituents are living in poverty. High school graduation rates aren't all that great. Crime rate is high. You know, we know that there's a large number of people here who are underserved by the community and have not been raised probably in the best set of circumstances. And I don't really think you need to do a survey that says, you know, who's poor? You're poor? Okay. Who's unemployed? All right. I mean, we already know that. We already have those stats. So I think I look at you as having, you know, what are your solutions that you have for these folks? You know, like Martin Luther King, he had a dream. He didn't say, let me tell you the reality. You're poor, you're black, you can't vote. I mean, he didn't say those things. He talked about, you know, what he wanted to see for them. So what is your dream? What do you want?
First of all, I think locally we have to get a better prosecutor in. We have to get a better sheriff in. We have to get definitely a better mayor in to help take care of these people. These people are suffering, and they're not doing anything for them. You know, it's like the good old buddy system, you know, where they're helping each other, but they're not helping the people. And that's where I'm back to, you know, nobody's listening to we the people, you know, for the people, by the people, of the people. They've been forgotten. And that's what we want in their lives that they need help with. You know, maybe they have a good job, but maybe they're working in a grocery store, but maybe they have great nursing skills, but they can't afford to put that together. Well, we could try to help them get that, you know. but nobody's listening to help them right now. And we've got to say, enough is enough. Stop what you're doing. Help the people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, I get to ask a question tonight because I don't see our other guest backstage, so we're gonna have to go maybe a whole nother round with Rusty. But so I'm just gonna ask you about current House members in the U.S. House. Which House member would you like to say you'd like to work with? Which one would be your favorite? If you had to work with one guy in the House or lady, which one would you pick?
Well, I like Matt Gaetz. I've talked to him twice in the past couple months. We've been down to Georgia several times, and he's hanging around with Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've met her as well. They've invited us down to a couple of the rallies. 2 weeks ago, was down there with Donald Trump. They were expecting 10,000, but 60,000 showed up. So Matt's got a lot of great ideas, and he's holding people's feet to the fire, and he cares about the people. And I this and stuff. We haven't seen that at all down there when we are with her. People of all nationalities are right there with her, and they just love her to pieces. What it is the Democrats and some Republicans have said that she's racist. She did go to a rally once, and there was a member of the KKK there, and she found out about it, and she had him kicked out of the venue. So, but they've been holding her to that, and that's wrong because she's really intelligent, and I like the way she gets things done. And she's holding the House accountable right now. So she's making every time that they come to a decision that they have to vote, and they are on the record, so we can hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah, actually.
So those are two of my favorites.
Daughter and son-in-law, or not my daughter, my wife's daughter and son-in-law live in Marjorie Greene's district. So when I'm down there riding my bike, I see all the signs, and that's definitely a Trump area. Yeah. I can tell you that for sure. It's just south of Atlanta, sort of south and west. But so yeah, that's to have some folks you want to work with. I think a lot of people just run for the office with their blinders on, and they don't look up to see who or what or where they're going to be headed if they win. So I like that foresight. So let's go back with the questioning again. Lucy, I know you always have extra questions. So come again. Let's fire something out there.
Well, I hear a lot of what I just consider lip service by politicians. No offense, Rusty. I mean, I've been a politician too, but I hear a lot of talk about, the left and the right and the left and the right. I think a lot of Americans have moved past the, Coke versus Pepsi syndrome.
Yes.
And I'm curious, what do you bring that's different than being able to put on a red jacket and saying, I'm a Republican, and if you don't like the guys in blue, you can vote for me. What really sets you apart and makes you different?
Good question.
I liked it.
Well, I don't always agree with the Republican Party all the time. I'll tell you that. Like I said, I don't agree with the county and the state GOP not supporting the 7th congressional candidates for the past 20 years. And we at least got them to say this year that that it's their investors instead of that it's unwinnable, because I hate that term, unwinnable. But I believe we've got to hold our leaders' feet to like I said, because Tiffany was talking about, the African American community and stuff. What can we do to help them? They're not as educated. Some of them are not as educated.
I never said African American.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I said some of your constituents.
Constituents. Okay. Well, let's get them educated. Let's get them their GEDs. Let's try to help them get jobs. Let's try to help them get better jobs. There's plenty out there right now. And I just believe that we've got to be better than what's going on. Like, I'm probably one of the only Republicans that want to legalize marijuana here in Indiana. I want to legalize it. I want to tax it. I want to do away with
that's
property
the problem.
taxes.
I'm going to interrupt you right there. What is your immediate thing? I agree to give people freedom as long as I can, take some of their money away for their freedom. So if you really want to get to the people, then why isn't it like broccoli? I can grow broccoli in my backyard. I should be able to grow cannabis in my backyard. Why do you think that because you're a big political gang, there's a whole bunch of you together, that it's okay for you to basically negotiate payment for people's rights. If you really believe in Republican values, you'd want everybody to be individually free, right?
In some ways, but like I was saying,
Wait. In some
don't
ways, you only want me to be
always
free in some ways?
agree.
What ways do you not want me to be free if I'm only allowed to be free in some ways? Give me a list.
I could see this one coming. And
No.
I thought she was going to ask you to lock the treasury and block it with your body. So
I was expecting. What I was saying, Lucy, before you interrupted, I'm sorry, was that what I want to do is I want to legalize the marijuana. I want to tax it, and I want to do away with property taxes.
I don't think that's going to work the rest of the shell game with Lucy.
That way we don't have to pay property taxes. Okay? Then we also, go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, then
So
we
what
can
you're
do away with
saying,
half of the
what you're really
positions in the
saying
clerk's
is
office.
there are
We
these
can
bad
our
people that
we can-
smoke stuff. So we'll steal from them for your benefit. See, what you're telling me again is the same as John just said. It's a shell game. You're willing to steal from some people for the benefit of other people, and you make it sound good because some people think that marijuana is a moral issue. I think it's, not a moral issue, even though I don't smoke it. But what you're communicating over and over is you're willing to steal from people for the benefit of somebody else. And maybe for the benefit of yourself too. Isn't that what the primaries are? The primaries are an exercise in taxpayer money stolen to promote you and your party.
I'm telling the people that they should be able to keep their own money instead of paying property taxes, tax the marijuana.
What about the people who smoke cannabis? Are they allowed to keep their own money?
a lot of your constituents are not property owners in Congressional District 7.
And even
Correct.
worse, they are renters, which means the government is stealing twice as much on those properties. And that cost, of course, gets passed down to renters. It's a cost of goods sold. Former landlord here.
And honestly, I think that this is sort of a federal, you're running for a federal office and you're talking about state issues.
Right.
So from the federal side, you could say you would vote to legalize marijuana. I don't.
Yeah,
maybe
that was my next step. That was my next step, John. Was then we legalize it federally, we tax it federally, and we use 50 cents on the dollar to help shore up Social Security. Then we use the other 50 cents.
Okay, can we talk about how Social Security is just a Ponzi
national
scheme
debt.
to begin with?
Oh boy, you're hitting all the issues
I'm sorry.
that's gonna. Lucy's talking.
Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. So when you find yourself digging a hole, the first thing that you should do is stop digging. If you want to appeal to millennial voters, tell them that you promise not to steal from them and you intend to actively fight against anyone who wants to steal from them. I'm 50. I know that I'm not going to get Social Security. My kids know they're not going to get it. They understand that it's a wealth transfer tax. But let me ask you this question, Rusty, and this is a super serious question because we're on the subject of taxes.
Sure.
The Federal Reserve prints money up out of thin air. If they can print all the money they want, why don't they just print the money that they need to pay for all the programs that they want and leave me alone?
Oh, man, Lucy, you're on fire tonight.
First of all, what I believe is that we should quit paying all these other countries money, and we need to pay off our own national debt.
That wasn't the question.
And
you can't pay off the national debt. They invented out of thin air. Do you even know how the Federal Reserve works? You want to go as a person to Congress and you probably don't even understand the nature of our fiat money system. I recommend that you go on July 9th and 10th to G. Edward Griffin's Red Pill Expo, which will be held here in Indianapolis, redpillexpo.org or whatever, so that you can talk to some people who are actually informed and know how this stuff works.
What are the dates?
July 9th and 10th.
And yes, Mouthwash maybe has 2 press passes for that. So.
Ooh, I want to go.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go, Tiffany.
Yeah.
And hey, I got the basement of my house. I live like a half a mile away from the window. My basement will be. Well,
hey, I'm taking you up on that.
Regularly, though.
No, not every day.
See, I will do that.
It'll be a BYOB.
I will do that just for you, okay?
Yeah, please do. And before you get there, it'd be super helpful if you read G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and you'll understand how very powerful bankers got together to hijack our system, and why on December 23rd, 1913, only the senators who were bought in there, and Congress people, of course, that were bought and paid for, were there to vote for the Federal Reserve System. If you don't understand the nature of our money system, you'll make ill-informed comments like, oh, well, we're just going to pay off the national debt. They literally borrow the money into existence and create it out of thin air. It's just like if I'm the banker on the only planet and you come to me for a loan for $100, I'll print out $100 and give it to you. But at the end of the year, you owe me $106. That's great, but I only printed $100 to begin with. It's really that simple. They only create the principal. They don't create the interest. And so it is mathematically impossible for it to be paid off. The only rational solution here is repudiation and hanging the bankers who did this by the neck from light poles.
Yeah, that's a bit extreme.
Okay.
But
okay, so let me walk that one back just a little bit like a good politician. Let's hold them responsible. Let's hold them responsible.
Yeah, maybe a strongly worded letter.
All right, this train is officially derailed. Hey, Ed, I'm going to let you have the last question. I want you to, help Rusty out here. I know as a Democrat, you're probably feeling sorry for him right now but he's held his own. I'm going to give him that. He's held his own, but give him a nice Ed, welcome back softball question. How's that?
I can't do that, but I can say that I'm pretty sure Rusty was expecting me to be the hard one, not Lucy. Yeah, so
I like you both.
Don't
worry. I want to go back and
she was the same with everyone.
I want to go back to the marijuana issue.
Yes.
And so, and almost like Lucy, I would like to, ask you to pay more attention or reach out to some researchers. Like I've spoken to researchers at several of our different universities. We are having to send research. You're saying not to spend money overseas. Our universities here in the state are having to pay researchers overseas because we can't do this research here. And so everybody keeps talking about legalizing marijuana and taxing it. And even at the research level, like our universities, we can't even research it here because it's federally, it's on the federal list. And so even just getting that off the list so that we could research it here, the tax issue is, I agree with Lucy. I am totally opposed to taxing it. But the biggest thing to me is we have to stop talking about the tax and start talking about there's literally medical research that could be happening right now and isn't, and we're blocking it. And I don't understand why. So,
well, the Congress actually just passed the House, but now it's gone to the Senate, and we're waiting to hear if they're going to pass it there. But I don't believe that they've been talking about a tax on it. So what we're saying is tax it at the federal level, help pay Social Security to get it caught up from where the Democrats and Republicans have been taking the money from Social Security and using it elsewhere. We need to shore up Social Security so we have it in the future. We also need to use the other half to help pay off our national debt. Stop paying all these other countries except for Israel and pay off our national debt. And then
wait.
Do you understand how much money we're still spending on the war and drugs
Why are we
to
giving
like
them
armor?
money?
And so,
are you like some sort of religious fanatic that you want to give some other religious group money and because you're trying to buy God's favor? God doesn't need your Federal Reserve notes. Israel will be just fine on their own. If they're truly God's chosen people, then God will supernaturally protect them, and your little green rectangles ain't going to do crap.
I knew that was coming. Green rectangles.
That's what I love about you guys. I know it's coming. And with that, we're going to let you have the last word, Rusty, and then we're going to have a little discussion amongst ourselves here after this on it's potpourri. So we're going to talk about stuff, and we still have Adam Harvey. He's got the Tea Time with the Tea Party coming up that'll give us a new topic to dig into. So, Rusty Johnson, please tell us your last words, just for tonight, not forever.
We're about people helping people, period. We're tired of all these politicians on both sides dividing us. Just last May, the GOP chairman told the group that to a LGBT person that he just wasn't ready for them yet. And I'm saying, why not? They're human beings. They're brothers and sisters. Why aren't you helping them? You know, why are people being divided in this country still after what, 165, 170 years after slavery ended? Why are we still being divided because the color of our skin, our religion, our sexuality, our disability, or anything else? We are better when we unite and say enough is enough. We help our brothers and sisters. We help our neighbors. If you see somebody that needs help, help them. That's one reason why I've been helping the veterans over the past 10 years is I know what to do. I know what to say. I know how to train them to say what they need to say to get their disabilities. We know how to fight the VA. We know how to fight Social Security. Let's help our people get taken care of. And I mean all people. Did somebody say something? I'm sorry. It broke up.
No, yeah, you're cutting out a little bit. You had a good run there, but
Okay.
hey, you know what, Rusty? I honestly, I'm going to say you're one of the hardest working guys out there. That's one thing I
You're like
admire
the
about you.
James Brown of Congressional District 7.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm a James Brown fan.
Let's help. So
thank you.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Yeah. So, hey, we appreciate you coming on. You were a little choppy tonight, but a lot better than last week's, connection. And you got to do a little bit more time. We spent like 30 something minutes with you, and you survived Lucy. Not a lot of people can say that. So, but we're going to talk about another issue, and you have a good evening, Rusty, and good luck in the primary on May 3rd. If you're in the 7th,
thank you, everybody. God bless. Thank you.
Step back and kiss yourself.
Yeah, jump
God
back and
bless.
kiss myself. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to tea time with the Tea Party. So here you go.
Good evening. My name is Adam Harvey, and this is Tea Time with the Tea Party. Tonight, I want to address two huge failures by the current Indiana General Assembly that you should consider in the upcoming primary elections. Both of these failures have to do with the issue of education. One of them I'll just briefly mention, which is your Indiana General Assembly, after listening to a bunch of complaints and concerns by parents on what's being taught in schools, failed to address any of the issues regarding curriculum. That is the issue of porn and material harmful to minors within schools and libraries. You see, Indiana has a criminal statute. That criminal statute says it is illegal to give material that is harmful to minors. There's a very clear and tested definition of what that means. So when liberals or Democrats or someone from the teachers union tries to say, hey, they're trying to stop teachers from doing any kind of sex education, that's not true. Bona fide sex education, as has taken place in schools for decades, is not included in the legal definition of material harmful to minors. And that's because there are several clear and offensive definitions that apply to what material to minors constitutes. But guess what? It's only illegal to distribute material harmful to minors if it takes place outside of a classroom or a library. But inside a classroom or a library, perfectly legal and explicitly exempted by Indiana law. The General Assembly did not get rid of that exemption, despite multiple proposals to do so in the last two legislative sessions. As you consider whether your current state representative should be reelected, you should consider the fact that they didn't act on these very important issues. Just because someone tells you that they're a Republican or a member of any particular political party does not automatically mean that they're conservative or that they have your values at heart. Indeed, the Indiana Republican Party, while claiming to be fiscally conservative and claiming to stand up for the rights of parents, has spent over $1.5 million targeting two conservative champion state legislators. They've done all this, and yet They can't even target Andre Carson in the United States Congress. Good luck tonight, Rusty. We hope that you feel a little bit of support here and you feel a little bit of encouragement by having a platform, because pretty sure that the party's not going to help you or whoever comes out of that primary. This is Adam Harvey, and this has been Tea Time with the Tea Party.
All right. So, hey, you guys were on it tonight. I mean, Lucy, was it because Ed's back on? You were like,
Ed's got my back.
I know it. It's like we're getting to be, a pretty formative panel here.
I'm sorry. I got a little bit triggered. I was trying to be all nice and give him his time to like sell the world on himself. But, there's two classes of people for me. It's not Republicans and Democrats. It's people who want to steal from me and people who don't want to steal from me. And he falls in the former, not the latter.
Yeah. So, well, hey, I thought you didn't yell at him like Mark Powell. So I was, anything under that, you got, you're good. You're good. So, hey, this is a pretty interesting topic. So I'm going to put up my picture down here because I went down and testified for this SB 17. This is basically that removes the protection for libraries and schools. And it's already a law that's in place. So let's look at the picture of me. Oh, look there. Oh. I'm looking all fit. Oh, in the Senate there, talking like being a big shot there. That's me. Yeah.
Okay,
so
Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. So, but we went down there. We had there was paid testimony for about Ed, are you laughing at my picture? I was trying to look as important as possible. So
no, I was laughing at the Bigfoot comment.
Oh yeah. I tried to brush over that, but not now. So, we sat there, we testified. They had paid people to come down and testify, and we had a bunch of angry parents. I was not one. I wanted to just go testify and say, hey, this is just a simple bill to protect our kids. And they were thinking, oh, we're going to tar and feather librarians. So 4 or 5 hours of testimony. It gets voted on straight down party lines. 4 Democrats voted no, 9 Republicans voted yes. It goes over to the House. So the House, they don't even get out of committee. That's Bob Baining. I know Bob. I like Bob. Bob's a nice guy. But this is, we've already uncovered how the campaign finance shuffle goes. This is how they shuffle bills to not have to vote for them. So it comes out of the Senate, it goes over to the House, it doesn't get a committee vote. So I asked Bob at one of the meetings, I said, I'm a little upset that SB 17 didn't get a hearing. And he says, well, let me tell you, this is what we did. We put it in another couple bills. And, I was just pretty certain that they were going to pass through those bills. So I didn't find it necessary to bring it out. But it's really important to me. This is really important to me. Well, Bob, why didn't you bring it out of committee then if it was really important to you? So guess what happens? Those 2 bills it's attached to, they get killed. Nobody has to vote on it. Nobody goes on the record. And here we are. And I'm going to tell you what, this is to be the 3rd time this comes back, but it'll come back next session. And there's parents are going to be with pitchforks and torches, and they're going to be even madder than they were. Because I'm telling you, they were mad that day. And people say, well, why are people so mad at these school boards? Because nobody's listening to them. If you don't have porn in the schools, if you don't have illicit materials, you got nothing to worry about. So I've done my little rant. What do you guys think? Let's go, Tiffany.
So I am newly appointed to the Hamilton East Public Library Board. That happened on, I think, Wednesday or Thursday of last week. And right after I was appointed, the county attorney came up to me and she's like, I'm so excited that you're on the board. I can't wait to get you up to speed. But it seems like this is the missing piece right here. And he touched on it. It's like, if you can have it in schools and in libraries, then until they change the law, the only thing that we can hope to do is maybe move it to a different area. You can't, if it's not illegal, if it's in school or a library, then what do you do?
Yeah. So
Lucy, you know what I'm saying? It's like the anger's misplaced.
Yeah. I agree. And it's out of frustration. I agree. It's totally out of frustration. And my question is, why is there so much kickback? I think teachers and administrators, they automatically think somebody's against me. when all they really want to do is, I think everybody's just sort of misunderstanding and not understanding the other person's side. And teaching's hard. I've done some substitute teaching, and by no means is that a full exposure and immersion into the teaching thing. But I got a pretty good idea of what a teacher goes through every day, and I don't want no part of it every day. So I'll go in and help when I can, but it is not for the weak and the meek. So Lucy, come at this from a libertarian viewpoint on this, because I mean, I know you're for freedom and all that, but how about porn in the school?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because I'm all for freedom for people that can be fully informed and can make their own decision because they've reached an age of majority. And I think that there are people that might have ill intentions that could use the banner of free speech in order to indoctrinate and groom children. And so for me, the most rational way to come about this is to look at what is appropriate and what isn't. If I don't want to see that part of your body in public, then I don't want my 17, 364-year-old or 364-day-old child seeing it, right? You hit the age of 18, and there's that age of majority that switches. So in my opinion, any of those types of things should be in a separate area of the library. If you're over 18, have at it. If you're under 18, you need your parents' permission. I think it's a parent's responsibility to do everything they can to protect their child from that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are doing homeschooling because of just this issue of this.
They're government schools. We're not public schools, where the public doesn't have a say in what's going on in those schools. So let's call them for what they are. They're government schools. And we shouldn't be shocked that there are multiple agendas going around by people in our let me just say, certain politicians in high power are certainly pedophiles, and there's no doubt about that whatsoever. So it wouldn't surprise me that their values would include the ability to groom other children for future victims.
Yeah. So Ed, you have some school-age kids. Tiffany, your daughter's in college, and Lucy, you homeschool. So Ed, maybe you have a little different perspective, or maybe not.
Not totally, but I think so. I am opposed to the porn in schools, just flat out. I am, but the bigger issue to me is, we can have these little issues that we agree or disagree on. My biggest issue when it comes to politics is politicians being able to shuffle stuff and, like you said, I get it out there, put it out there for a vote. Let me see where you stand on it. To me, I don't want to diminish the porn issue at all. I'm not trying to say that at all. But I'm saying there's so many issues like this where they shuffle stuff, do it in committee so that they, magic trick and make it go away, and then still get to play like I'm really big into that. And it happens on both sides. It's not one side or the other. We just happen to have a Republican supermajority here, but it is one of those things that just, drives me crazy.
I agree with Ed. I think the biggest tragedy is the shuffle of the bills, because it's being fought in the trenches and parents aren't getting the support that they need. There's frustration at the school board, frustration at the library boards, and the thing is that like some of these books, while they may have some obscene things in them, a lot of them are the stories of marginalized people and kids, and kids should be able to read them. I mean, some of the stuff may need to be, however we want to handle it. Because remember back in the day, I remember when I was a child, remember Playboy just used to be next to like Better Homes and Gardens. It used to all be there until somebody, I don't know who led the charge, I don't know, early 80s, maybe, so that remember, like they put the magazines in bags and then they put them up higher so that you couldn't just read them.
I'm glad I was tall.
But that was like cutting edge in like the early 80s, was to say, hey, this isn't appropriate for everybody. Maybe we should take some precautions. And I think that's what a lot of parents are wanting, is for people to just say, to Lucy's point, like, if we're not going to talk about this, if you're not going to show me that body part, treat me the same way, treat me in the library the same way you would treat me at the table. So I just think that there's a lot of common sense that can be applied until our legislators fix what needs to be fixed. But then, John, for you, the next issue might be, who's funding who. I don't know if there's a Indiana Library PAC or what. So
yeah, oh, there is. You should have the librarians marched up there, and I know one of the guys that he's a paid lobbyist to go speak at these, and that was one of the points that I heard someone make. Us people that work, we have to take off. I had to take off pretty much the afternoon to go down and get in line to testify, and 4 hours later I got to testify, and it's what good does it do? But you have somebody on the other side that's paid. You have teacher union people. You have this. And my thing is, hey, teachers, parents, let's fix this. Don't rely on the Congress. Let's get together on this. But you don't see that. You see parents going to this school board and reading the smut over the school board thing, and that makes them mad. Then you got, next thing you know, you got everybody fighting. So how do you fix that, Ed?
Well, I'll tell you what. You're talking about everybody out in the open, and we started off this show looking at those campaign finance reports, and those campaign finance reports, what those read is the people who get to have backdoor meetings with those people not out in the open get to express what they want without having it disclosed out in the open. And to me, that's the more troubling part here, because you can have, I mean, I've witnessed, hearing after hearing where everything seems to make sense and the vote doesn't seem to make sense. And why? Because you have those guys in the back room getting their weight thrown around.
Yeah, they have a lot of different ways they can kill this stuff. They can either not get a committee hearing in one of the houses when they shift it over, and then it's got to go back. I mean, the governor cannot sign it. The concealed carry was one that's been 3 or 4 or 5 or a bunch of sessions. They've brought that up, and to me, it's like, okay, to some people it's a very big deal. To others, is this the most important thing we have going right now? No, I think prison reform, I think our education, I think there's a ton of things we could talk about, whether I need to get a license for my gun. But hey, at least they got something done. I mean, it's as Adam said in his tea time with the Tea Party, it's like they failed on a couple things. 1134 was a bill that was supposed to work on some of these issues that people think, or maybe they are being taught in school, that pretty much got so watered down and so much stuff added onto it. It was crap. I mean, it literally was junk when it got there. And this is one of the bills that SB 17 got attached to. And then all of it went out. So they killed off both issues at one time, and nobody had to vote on it. So it's
2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, and this has happened for a lot of years. My great uncle was in the Indiana House in 1930, and he was there till 1967. He was known as the Great Compromiser. I don't know if that's good, bad, or otherwise, but in 1930, when we came out of Prohibition, they split up the alcohol, just like we're talking about the taxing on marijuana. So the House got the beer, and the Senate got the liquor. To this day, it's that way. So when my great uncle died, he had stock in beer companies. Imagine that. For all those years, it was in his will. These stocks go to this person, and of course, he was an attorney, so it was like after you get so old, it's like nobody ever got to drink. But you can see my point. This has gone on since the beginning of time. How this works. The difference is now we have shows like this. We have access to the media that the media can't really. Well, they're censoring some of us. Fortunately, we haven't been censored yet, but only a couple times. We have that Kelly Calloway on. Both times she's got us censored, but for the most part, we get our message out, and folks are able to listen to it. And the feedback I get on our show is that, hey, we're just regular people out there taking comments from regular people, trying to make heads or tails out of ourselves, and going with that. So I'm just so glad to see everybody back on the show. It's just been a wonderful time tonight. And everybody did their part quite well. Hey, I don't know what we have next week, but
did Stephanie ever log in?
No, she did not. She did not log in. I don't know if what happens, but we will get an update on that. So we've had too much stuff to do on our potpourri show. So it's the potpourri is about all burned up now. So it's time to say goodbye. I don't know. Conspiracy theory, are you up for it? I mean, I'll run it real quick if you want to. Otherwise, we'll just say goodbye.
I don't think I have one.
I can always make one up, but I mean, the fact of the matter is not having a conspiracy theory means that there was a conspiracy between the three of you to shut me up. So I think we should end the show.
Hey, I caught a cold. I don't have COVID. I have a cold. I haven't been sick in 2.5 years.
Hey, we're still on the air. We're still on the air. And folks, I just want to tell you that we should do an after the show because that is where it's really sort of funny. But,
excuse me, can I talk about my cold?
No, I don't want you to talk about your
I have a cold. I have a cough. I have a runny nose. I feel the urge to sneeze. I haven't been sick in 2.5 years. The last time I was sick, I was down at IU. It's the fall of 2019. I was at a tailgate with a bunch of kids. There was a fire pit. Those kids made me sick. I had bronchitis. It was a mess. And now I am sick again. I have missed this feeling, y'all. I have a cold.
You can
you can hear it in my voice. I have a productive cough.
Not really. If you wouldn't have said anything,
if
you wouldn't have said anything, we would have known. We would have known. So, well, we hope you get well, and I'm glad for you to come on the show, even under your severe illness, and just search it. Hey, did you hear me earlier about it? So we might have a sponsor, a paid sponsor.
Yeah, who is it?
I can't tell you yet. They got to pay first. If I tell you now, then they won't pay. Hopefully, they were watching tonight.
Wait a minute. What's the split? Is it 25, 25, 25? What? We never talked about that. When we were splitting nothing, I mean, it was equally split, but am I going to get paid?
Here we go. You're killing me, Smalls. Killing me. So, all right. Hey, everybody.
I'd just like to throw out, Tiffany says she didn't have a conspiracy theory, but she already threw it out tonight.
Yeah.
What about the cold?
Dawn is big.
Oh, yeah. No, please say it ain't so. I do have like size 14, but I don't know. But I don't have fur on my feet like a hobbit. So hey, that's enough. That's enough. See, this is how it's going. We had such a good show, and it just went the dumper at the end there. So okay, I'm rolling up the ending of this show.
Time for the credits.
Yeah, there's. You guys all get great credit. So let's find the end. Oh, here's
I'm
the end.
glad Rusty was able to come on. I think maybe that was a conspiracy theory that like last week, he's probably like, I want double time. I'm not going to get on this week. I'm just going to go on next week. Maybe that's the conspiracy theory.
Dumb like a fox.
He did a really good job.
Yeah, he's I tell you what, he's a hard worker. So we're going to see the primary is coming up, and then we'll see what comes out the other side of that. Because I think it's going to be interesting for sure how this goes down. 5 candidates, who knows what's going to happen. So, all right, everybody. Hey, we don't know what's happening next week because I may not be the host, but we'll figure out something. So I know. And then after that,
is the sponsorship that big? Are we getting sold?
Actually, I'm going to the Hamilton County Lincoln Day dinner. Are you going to that, Tiffany?
Oh, yeah, I am.
Yeah, so we may not have me or Tiffany there. Actually, Lisa's going there, and I'm going to go talk to Micah Beckwith, and he's supposed to be going with Rob Kendall, and Rob Kendall loves me, so I can't wait to see this.
So who's going to host the show? Is Adam going to do the show?
I don't know who's going to do it. I mean, it's from 6 to 9, and it's in Noblesville or somewhere. So I don't know. It's like maybe Lucy can do it, but I don't think she has control. So hey, this is the stuff we talk to behind stage here. This isn't like stuff we talk
see all the fun stuff you guys miss.
Yeah, well, wait till they start
I live
talking.
in Hamilton County. You can do it from my dining room if you want.
Well, I would maybe thinking about doing it from live up there, but I get thrown out. But well, is this where you talk about your Tinder stuff? Oh no, we're not off the air yet. The Tinder experience.
Nothing good on Tinder. I will say that like you can tell that it's warming up because there's kind of more people. I actually went out on Saturday. I went to Free Spirit. There were tons of people out there. Jay Baker was playing. It was really nice. It felt like summer 2019, a little like 2018.
Were you
just a
partying
good
like it's
time.
1999?
Yeah, and then we went to do karaoke afterwards. I like Fall Out Boy. Sugar, we're going down.
Yeah.
That's my
So
karaoke
that's where you
song.
got the cold. Did you have the cold then before or after that?
I've been sick since I came back from Mom's weekend. And Michaela, I was talking to my daughters like, Michaela, I don't feel good. She's like, Mom, you have the frat flu. So yeah.
That is a thing, that college flu. It'll take you back a minute. So all right, everybody, that's enough. That's enough of this. I'm playing the ending, and stay on so we can talk about next week. So hey, everybody, hey, thanks for watching, making Mouthwash the #1 show at 9:00 on Tuesday on Mouthwash Talk Show.
Yeah.
You see what I did there?
Instead of watching Who's the Boss, you can watch us.
Hey, at least we're not fighting some NCAA game or, president's speech or whatever they try to plan during our show. So, all right, everybody, tune in next week, maybe.